I'm running as fast as my legs can carry me. Furhead is right beside me, and then suddenly he isn't anymore. Something grabs him, his two legs dangling in my periphery. I look up and horrifically realize that that large green long neck is right upon us again. It has come back to life, trying to tear at our flesh, its eyes bulging, and a large hole exposing that there is actually nothing inside of it save its bones and what's left of the muscle linings. I mourn at the loss of my friend, but I keep going, and then suddenly Furhead is upon me, but his back half is gone. He's accustomed to running on two legs, just like me, but straight up, his arms swinging and muscular. But now his powerful bottom legs are gone, and he is just using his forelegs to propel what's left of his body. He looks at me, but his stare is different. It's haunting. Something's wrong with him. Both he and the long-necked creature have a wicked, devilish stare and expression. I run as fast as I can, once again into the lava pits. The creature comes after me. Furhead is right upon him. The creature accidentally steps on Furhead, sending his body parts, or what's left of him, splattering everywhere. His brain and his insides splatter violently into my face, and I cry out. I am in mourning for him, but I can't stop. The thing is going to get me. It's going to step on me or bite me, and I'm going to become it. I'm going to turn into it. My skin's going to slough off of my muscles and my bones. I cry out, and suddenly the creature drops into the lava. I am free until I realize that something is attached to me. I look back, and I realize it's the creature's head that's attached to my back. Suddenly, my skin is melting away, and I wake up with a start. And there was Furhead, petting me on my back. I must have been shouting in my sleep or something. I curl my tail around him and nuzzle him. We've gone through a lot together, and he'll always be my Furhead. But his name is Spear. We are now officially a pack. We have gone through so very much, and I can't get out of my mind that monstrosity coming after us. I remember that morning like it was yesterday, how that thing smelled. I've smelt this before when I was little. My mother, she had smelled it, and I remember every time she did, she was terrified, and my mother was never afraid of anything. I remember when I was much younger, I would look into her eyes every time she caught wind of that smell, to the point where I had become accustomed to being afraid as well, never actually seeing what had made the smell. I think that's what made it more scary, knowing that the smell was there, that it didn't smell like anything else around us, and we could never see it. It's been a long time since I've smelled that awful odor, and I feel like since I've been with Spear, I'm encountering it a lot more. I don't know what it is, but I know that something's not right with it. I try to go back to sleep. We've hunkered down for the night. Believe it or not, we just escaped with our lives. Much of what just happened tonight, I can't really explain. We met these things. They looked like Spear, but they were smaller and had bright, glowing green eyes. I remember us running from them in the forest. They seemed to have been torturing their prey. Something that looked like Spear, another Furhead. They had this green fire all around him, and they were roaring at him. I wonder why. Were they gonna let him go, mate with him, or eat him? It's like they couldn't make up their mind. Spear and I had watched in horror as some mystical being had come in on a flying creature, which also had bright green eyes. Again, this creature that was riding the flying creature looked a little bit like Spear. It had a lengthy body, and I could smell it from here. It didn't smell male or female. However, when it went up to the other Furhead, that I guess they were getting ready to kill, or maybe they were leaving it as a gift for this one, something happened, and I watched something I've never seen happen before. The creepy thing did something to the Furhead who was all tied up and couldn't escape, and suddenly his skin sucked in and he wasted away, as though he were decaying at a rapid rate, and then his head fell off, only a skull with skin tightly stretched across it. What remained of his body looked similar to the other fur legs I had seen in the cave with that 8-legged monstrosity. Is this what that monster had done to those things? There is so much about this world I just don't understand. Anyway, I'm really glad I'm out of there. I don't know how that thing could do that to a body, but then give birth to a smaller version of itself, and then give it away to the other. It's so confusing. My adventures with Spear are so odd and so crazy, and I have a feeling they're not going to stop there. It's been a few days now. My tail is heavy, and so is my neck. We're hungry. Spear and I go out hunting. We now hunt flawlessly as a team. I mean, I've never hunted with anyone like this. Not since my brothers and sisters. Even still, we were amateurs and we depended on our mother to get us everything. My brothers had left home early, and my sisters had gotten taken off by other males. My little sister and I had been the last one of our clutch. When we were half our mother's size, unfortunately, my little sister fell ill with some strange sickness and died. I miss her even now. The only way that hurt and that pain went away is when I had my children. My children. It breaks my heart every time I think about them. I chide myself. Sometimes I'm so happy and so in the moment with Spear that I forget that I ever had them. What kind of a mother am I to forget my own children? How dare I be happy? They counted on me to protect them. I promised that I would protect them, and here I am having a good time, and they're gone. Shame on me. I should never forget how they're just gone. And it's all because of me. I hear Spear barking out something. We know each other's language by now. I can't exactly understand what he's saying, but because of his inflections and his body language and the way he looks at me, he conveys exactly what I need to know. He has predator eyes like me. We both hunt. We both eat meat. We understand each other very clearly. After our hunt, we continue walking our way. We don't know where we're going. We just know that we're going to a place with more food and as far away from that awful coven as possible. But there's something in the distance. Something doesn't smell right. Oh no. It's that smell again. That smell that I always smelled when I was younger. No, Spear, we need to go away. We need to stay away from here. Oh, stop being afraid, he seems to say with his eyes. I hate when he pushes me away like that. Every time I try to warn him, he doesn't listen. Why does he act like such a nestling? I always have to protect him, and he's so stubborn. I don't want to leave him alone, so I follow him. We hear the tiny buzzing creatures, which is indicative of something being bloody or decaying. And when we get there, we see why. I recognize this predator. I've seen them only once or twice in my whole life, but there's no doubt that these things are nasty. I've seen a few of my kind run into them. It didn't end well for them. They made it very plain that they were not food. But here this one was, lying on the ground with its body splaying out. At first I thought it could have been one of my kind that got to him, but like this? This is an awkward way for a body to look after it's been eaten. It's everywhere, as if the person who was eating by thrashing around, which is very ineffective and messy because hardly any meat or blood would get down your throat. I go closer to take a sniff, and what fills my nostrils simultaneously fills me with dread. It's that odor I remember smelling from childhood. I start panicking, and at the moment, I'm in fight or flight mode. I look over at the furhead Spear. He doesn't seem bothered by this. How does he not smell that? Being so close to it. Anyway, we go and make camp for the night. It's very peaceful, and at the moment I have forgotten about the smell. Until I hear a ruckus in some distance away in the forest. Spear and I both perk up. Ordinarily, in the middle of the night before I had my children, I would hear other predators hunting their prey. Wasn't a big deal, I've done it too, and you'll hear the occasional screaming at the top of their lungs. Sometimes the prey would win, sometimes the predator would win. Oftentimes the predator would win. If it was a prey situation where they were victorious, I already knew that the predator bit off more than he could chew. But the sounds I'm hearing tonight, This is no ordinary entertaining drama. This is not a predator killing its prey. It's a predator hunting for sport. With all the stories I've heard about, something inside of me, my innermost instinct, knows that this monster is the one that makes the foul smell. I try to stay as quiet as possible, listening to the mayhem. There's a stampede in the distance, and then little by little, I hear the amount of footfalls being made drop significantly. I can smell the blood on the wind, blood that was highly distressed. When I hunt, I try my hardest not to make my prey suffer. Something goes wrong with the meat when they're terrified for too long. I try to either ambush my prey or choose prey that doesn't have much of a will to fight. Something about the prey being at the height of insanity and terror literally causes their meat to sit in my stomach wrong. Suddenly there's a blur to my left. It's Spear. He suddenly roars and grabs his long tooth. Where does he think he's going? Is he crazy? I jump in front of him, wagging my tail wildly and bucking my head. Don't you dare. Spear, you cannot go out there. Now you will listen to me. I am the pack. I catch myself. I have to remember that we're partners. I am a member of the pack, and I say you stay here. He roars back at me indignantly. I know what's wrong. He wants to save those creatures. He wants us to sleep, and he wants to show that predator that you can't just disrespect nature like that. If you kill off everything there is to eat, there'll be nothing left for the rest of us. Not to mention, I too find it sickening that whatever that thing is decides to kill its prey for fun. Spear and I only ever hunt to eat, and if we're not hungry, we simply leave nature to rebalance and to replenish herself. Once again, he raises his long tooth and tries to charge into the forest, into the dark, towards that thing. I once again step in front of him. I vehemently put my foot down. Now you listen here, you stupid furhead. I really care about you. You're the last family that I have left. And I say you are not going in that forest. You don't listen to me when it comes to a lot of things, but for this, you need to listen to me. I don't know what that thing is in that forest, but I promise you, if you go in there, you won't return. You are not leaving, and that is final. I hate having to talk to him like this, but it seems the only way to get through to him. After looking into his eyes, not breaking my gaze, and gritting my teeth, he realizes I'm serious. I feel a little flutter in my chest. Maybe I am still an alpha after all. I don't let him know that. It helps if he thinks he has the same power as me. He lowers his long tooth reluctantly, and then goes back to sit by the ground star, the warmth of it bathing our bodies. I would give anything to stay here and to be as far away from whatever that thing is as possible. In the morning, we continue on our way to wherever it is we're going. I had a really deep sleep. To be honest, I was up most of the night. And the only reason I'm roused awake is because I hear this awful cackling noise. I open my eyes and quickly turn to my left. I see Spear at the top of a tree. He's looking off into the distance, to the direction where the sound is coming from. I know that sound very well. It's the sound of the black blood eaters. They always come in droves every time a kill is made. My father and mother always taught me to eat everything as clean as possible off my carcass. If we leave too much, we upset the balance. There's too many black blood eaters, and then there won't be anything left for all the other creatures. At my tender young age, my siblings and I always wondered, why did Mom and Dad care so much about prey? They're just food. But as I grew older, I understood the balance of things, and how, if our ecosystem is out of balance, that actually hurts us. And then, in turn, it hurts our offspring. From what I was hearing, of course I couldn't see what Spear was looking at, but there had to have been a cloud's worth of those things, those black blood eaters. And the only reason there would be that many is because there was so much to eat. Whatever that thing was, it's as if it didn't eat anything. All the black blood eaters were calling their friends. I could hear others making their way towards the area from every direction. Thankfully, Spear and I decide it's time to leave. As we come down the other side of the mountain, everything is fine and peaceful. We're surrounded by very thick trees. The air smells wet and a little foreboding. In the back of my mind, I am hyper aware that that creature is probably out there somewhere, Hopefully we left it back there, where all the noise is. Maybe those black blood eaters will draw its attention. Like I said, it was peaceful, and now it's not. Now the wind is blowing us off our feet. I don't know what has happened, and what kind of storm this is without rain. But I feel as though every time I smell that awful smell, something horrific always follows, including this weather. I can't even open my eyes. My legs feel wobbly and I feel weightless at times. It's very jarring and unsettling. Shortly after, Spear and I take refuge behind the large boulder. At least here we don't have to be buffeted by the violent wind. As if to mock me, I hear the roaring sound of the beast pursuing us. The trickster apparently using the extremely high winds as a means of camouflage. I hold my breath and I start to panic. I only pray that it doesn't know exactly where we are and that we can use the high winds as a means of camouflage as well. I can see the fear in Spear's face. He peeks out from the corner of our boulder. I know he can see the creature. It sounds like it's right upon us, but if it walked only a few paces forward, it would see us hiding here. I quickly contemplate whether or not I should just make a run for it. The fact that it's already here indicates that it's capable of traversing vast distances in a short amount of time. That's something that worries me to my core, but I can feel Spear's body relax next to mine. Weird, because I can still hear the creature. Spear holds his long tooth close, on guard. Maybe it's not the creature, for if it was, his body would look and feel very different. It's nighttime, and we settle down by a ground star and warm our bodies. I can't seem to relax, and I'm in constant fear of what's coming. Are you keeping watch? I ask my PAT member. He returns my gaze and then shifts his eyes back and forth as if to comb the dark trees. I can see through them, tiny little creatures harvesting and eating their fill since they couldn't do it in the daytime with all their versions of monsters about. They must feel so safe being so small. In this moment, I envy them. As I start to drift off to sleep, I suddenly open my eyes. The ground star is still lit. Spear is still keeping watch with his long tooth at the ready. I think we'll be safe for now, and I fall into a deep sleep. Terrifying, high-pitched screams cut through the air all around us. I'm on my feet before I can even process why. Spear is too. It's like half of our brains are still awake, ready to respond accordingly if that thing ever came. It's the same sound we heard the other night, the very loud savage that killed just for fun. Spear and I freeze, our backs to each other. The ground star is out and the cold sets in on our skin. It's quiet for a tense moment, and we have no idea where this sociopath is lurking. And then, something happens that makes my body go rigid. I can't see it, but I can hear it, and it's closer than it's ever been. I now have no doubt in my mind that whatever this thing is, it's hunting us now. So far, nothing that's come across it has survived, and I remember the puddles of bloods and guts that had covered the wilderness in its wake. We're out here in this clearing completely exposed. I am so afraid. I don't think I've ever been this afraid for my safety, and the closest I came to this kind of fear was when I was young and playing with my sister. It was at a time where we had been small enough to fit inside a fallen tree, and that used to be our little playhome. A place that was only designated for us and not my other siblings. We had disobeyed Mom and Dad that day when they told us to come home when the bright star was right on top of the naked tree. All of our other siblings went home, but we stayed out and played because we were having so much fun. We both had heard our parents calling us, but we decided that day just to ignore them, and, surely a few more moments couldn't hurt. I remember hearing their voices from far away, and I remember feeling a chill climb up my back when we both heard something much closer to us, right outside our log, snapping through the branches, and growling. I remember feeling the terror in my bones as I huddled next to my sister, while whatever it was outside was getting closer and closer to the opening of our log and sniffing as it followed our scent. Luckily, there had been some leaves inside that log that we could cover ourselves with, but when the creature seemed to make its way inside, we could hear a large head pushing the leaves aside as it continued smelling for us. We had heard a snap as it clamped its jaws down on a pile of leaves that it thought that we were in, and pulled them out of the log and then reinserted its head, minus the leaves, to do the same thing over again. We were at the far end of the other part of the log, so imagine our complete terror as the creature withdrew its head and started to slowly walk around to the other side where we were. And knowing full well that if we had moved back to the spot where the creature had only been moments ago, we would be completely exposed, as it had taken out all the other leaves. The last bit of leaves had been covering us at the tip of this end of the log. That was the last time I've ever felt fear like that for myself. Even when my mother picked up the odor of this thing, or its species, I would be afraid of her behalf. But never like that day. Never like now. And what makes me even more afraid now is the fact that Spear is running away. I know I told him that he shouldn't mess with this thing because we don't know what it is and it's much stronger than us, clearly, but the one thing that I admire about this furhead is his intrepidness. He was brave, but I'm glad he was also not terminally stupid and knew when to run away from a fight. I knew that if we met this thing face to face that it would not be a fight for us. We run as fast as our legs can take us until we find ourselves lower down the mountain in the Valley of Fog. These ground clouds are so thick that you can't see further than in front of your nose. I can hear Spear breathing hard as I also catch my breath. Both of us on edge. This thing could be anywhere. I catch a whiff of it. I turn my body and then detect movement. I can't believe this. By the time I'm able to detect it, it seems to move with lightning speed. How could anything hope to escape something like this? I never would have imagined that as an adult I'd be hunted like this. Even more unsettling is the fact that when I hear the animal's footsteps, they sound like those of a creature half my size. How is something so much smaller than me able to... My eyes land on Spear. I have to admit the little furhead is quite vicious, but even he is terrified of something like this. Nothing makes any sense. My train of thought is abruptly interrupted by something that comes crashing from a direction I did not anticipate. If I had only been a breath too late, it would have killed me. I roll over onto the cold ground after merely dodging within a claw tip of the creature's fangs. At least I think it was his fangs. The tree we had just been standing next to seems to explode after the creature collides into it. It then gives chase after Spear. I take this opportunity to follow it and I realize that it could be moving a lot faster than it is. Why is it not caught up to him yet? I realize with horror that it's toying with us. The sociopathic terror wants to prolong the hunting session since there's only two of us, I imagine. Taking the opportunity to use the cloak of the fog, I give chase after them, and right before the creature reaches Spear, who constantly ducks behind trees to slow the creature down, I intercept and tackle the creature. When I land on it, it feels as though whatever it is I touched was not a solid object. I touched something all right, but at the moment my face is covered in that foul-smelling liquid that I've smelled oh too many times. It assaults my nose, and there's an unbearable stinging sensation in my eyes and nasal cavity. I scream in fear, and I could just make out Spear standing next to me. I have no idea where the creature is, but at this moment I have to get the slimy stuff off my face. I can't properly see or smell, and all I can feel are my legs quickly taking me away from the area. I'm able to wipe my head on the ground and on the tree barks next to me. My eyes and my nostrils still burn. I can hear the creature starting to follow me until Spear emits a cry. Why is he doing that? The creature is far away from him. He could have used that opportunity to get away. Stupid furhead. But then I understand exactly what's happening. Of course he's doing what he always does. He's trying to protect me. We did agree that we would always have each other's back, and right now he has mine. However, the creature I realize is too powerful for any of us to take on alone. I wait till it gives chase after them, and then I call out to it as loud as I can. Over here, you stinking aberration! Yeah, it's me you really want! I then run in the opposite direction of Spear. After it gives chase after me, I hear Spear doing the exact same thing, calling it towards him to drive it away from me. Apparently all this serves to do is piss it off. A horrendous noise, at a decibel I have never experienced before, even louder than my father's roar, radiates from the creature. It seems to pierce the forest and the sky itself. I scream out in frustration and pain at the loudness of the noise. I'm not surprised if I can't hear after this. I'm able to make out Spear in the fog. Oh no, why is he just standing there? Run! I cry out. Spear is manic and he's afraid, and I can't blame him. He's hunkering down into a ball, and I know that he's frightened by the loud noise. He is a smaller animal, so it probably hurts his ears. It even hurts my ears. And something awful happens. All at once, I feel as though I'm going to relive my worst nightmare, losing someone I love, because the creature is heading straight for him. I can see its silhouette cutting through the fog until the cloudy atmosphere seems to envelop it. It looks as though something is hidden underneath the fog and tunneling through it, and all I can see now is an outline of the fog barreling quickly towards Spear. I know that where I am right now, I won't be able to catch it. And so I scream out to Spear to run, but all he does is wave his long tooth around blindly and screaming, obviously hoping that it will bite the creature, but I know that's not going to work. I know that it's a last-ditch effort to go out with a fight. I merely got lucky making contact with that thing because it wasn't prepared. I was aware that it had been playing before, but now it was tired of us. I want to look away, not wanting to witness Spear lose his life and be cut down like those tall trees by the creature only moments before. But no matter what, I can't look away, and all I can do is cry out his name and beg him to run, even though I know it will be useless, and even though I know he can't hear me. The insatiable monster reaches Spear with its jaws wide open, and I can see the outline of it once again as it prepares to swallow my packmate whole. But it doesn't. There is a bright light, and suddenly the creature is fleeing back into the darkness quicker than it was when it was chasing us. What the heck was that? I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I'm seeing things, with everything being thickly coated and the fog visibility being very low, but to me it looked as though my friend's long tooth became a bright star. That momentary bright burst of light seems to be what sends the creature running. Of course, the creature's afraid of light. I didn't know that Spear's long tooth could do that. I always thought it was very interesting that furheads in general could create ground stars. My family always had a theory that they were hybrids, and that somewhere in the past, their kind, bred with our ancestors, who not only could create ground stars, but flicking tails and hair tips of light that could devour forests and creatures alike. My mother and father even told my siblings and I stories about some of our very own recent ancestors that could create these flickering and burning lights from out of their mouths. Spear once again drags his long tooth on the hard rock below him, and it sets alight. The creature, who is charging him at the moment, retreats deep back into the shadows. I walk up to Spear and inspect his tooth that is on fire. I marvel at it. I'm not gonna lie, I want to be as close to whatever scares that other thing as possible. We build a few ground stars around us to keep us safe for the night. Now that we know it's hunting us, it's better safe than sorry, and there is a circle of burning lights that it will have to pass through to get to us. Not sure why this thing hates burning light so much, but the fact that it does means that it hurts, or at least it could be something that we could use to keep it at bay, and even kill it. Both Spear and I are anxious for the night to fall. We decide to take a nap in the daytime, since we know the creature doesn't come out then, but even still it's hard to fall asleep. Both our nerves are heightened and in overdrive with anxiety. Sleeping helps the time go by, and we check the traps once more. Finally, night falls. Saying I'm nervous is an understatement. Spear looks confident, and I wish I could feel the way he looks. We sit in the darkness by the traps, waiting and listening. All the creatures calling out for their mates and singing into the night keep us company. I realize that that's really the only time I hear them. But not at night, when the creature is around. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly. Maybe when you're so scared, you don't notice certain things you otherwise would notice. My eyes get heavy, and I'm thinking that we probably scared this thing. I honestly had wanted to leave the area in the morning as far as possible while we could, but Spear knows that this creature has been following us. When it first killed that predator, we had moved far away from the area, only to hear it much closer to us the following day. Not only would it keep hunting us if we didn't deal with it, but it would continue upsetting the balance of things and killing off every food source it could find. It makes sense that since we know of a way to hurt it or scare it, that we should utilize this opportunity to get rid of it once and for all, and just hope that there's no more. So, I think it hunts alone, and as if it were reading my mind, I hear footsteps. Of course, made by a creature half my size. Again, I marvel at how small this thing is, and yet how powerful it is. The traps are ready. Clearly, it has a vendetta against us. It doesn't waste any time and charges. With its stupid squealing noise that it makes, it haunts the forest. Spear is ready for it, and uses his long tooth to light up the traps. He jumps on my back, since I can move faster in the dark, and we light the trail using the disgusting black stuff from the forest. There was only a little bit of it, but it was highly flammable. I don't know if it was left by the creature after I tackled it, or if it had always been there, but it absolutely did not take much to set it aflame. We draw a massive burning circle around the dumb creature, and I can hear it in the middle, still managing to hide in the darkness. I can hear it whimpering. Yes, it's scared, and that's music to my ears. Spear doesn't wait. He sends his burning longtooth sailing into the air and straight into the creature in the middle of the burning circle. With all the burning ground stars, I have no idea how he can even see where it is, but after he hits it, both of us recoil in surprise. The creature is actually pretty big. It's actually my size, its head being a little longer than mine. How is it able to sound as though it were much smaller? It's what made me feel creeped out. It was ugly and it looked tarnished, like that decaying long neck that we had to run away from a while back. It flails as Spear's long tooth sticks out of its chest. Good. Die. You like death so much, why don't you experience it? Spear and I watch the creature burn, which doesn't take that long as its body completely burns upon contact with the burning light. I'm so glad this is over. Or at least, it is for now. Maybe finally we can sleep in peace, and after walking away from the area for about half an hour, Spear and I find a safe place to rest. I hadn't realized this. Now that the creature's gone... I was right. All the natural sounds of the forest have been revived. It's so obvious now, and it wasn't before. I remember when we were afraid we couldn't hear anything, except for our own beating hearts and our breathing. The other animals had fallen eerily silent whenever that monstrosity was nearby. It was usually at night. Now everything is at peace once more and free to frolic and sing the songs of their ancestors. Hopefully the forest can heal from this. Definitely not wanting to take any chances, Spear and I continue our venture away from this region. Because, you know, just in case.